No.
He's a little self-made, exactly, yeah.
And I love him. He's,
We'll see what happens.
oh, that man right there.
I know cities
but
love it.
I just felt like
if you get more of something in, you'll get more money, but
You know,
we're not linear.
leasing a lot.
Yeah.
So.
He's a problem with that. So you can go back.
It turns out.
And you provide a lot of service.
So was that issue
Never
resolved?
Do
you know?
My understanding is that
Great.
they go going on without enforcement.
What?
They did.
Oh.
Yeah, contrast in the top of
Composting.
Very good.
Well, that's neat.
You're starting to think in more energy products.
So I live in Corvallis. I grew up in Corvallis. I know, I work with these, I think never.
Yeah.
And they're also smaller. Than just like.
All right, I will go ahead and call us to order. It is 6:33, Tuesday, April 21st, the regular scheduled Hubbard Planning Commission meeting. Welcome, everybody. Had a little bit of a crowd there, more than we do some nights, but thanks for joining us. First order of business, if you join me in a flag salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, if you guys have had a chance, first item up on the agenda is approval of March 17th minutes.
I move to approve.
I second.
I have a motion, and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Next up is Bear Creek Extension. And we have new staff. So welcome Laura. I don't know if anybody else has met you, but
No, it's a pleasure to meet you all.
would you like to give us a little bit of background?
Sure, happy to.
Start out with.
Yeah, so my name is Laura LaRock, come back from a development background. Father was a developer and got me interested in land use and development. I've been a land use planner in Oregon for more than a decade. It's hard to say that already, but I've worked both with cities and private development. So it's fun to see both sides and know how those systems work, but really enjoy working with communities and cities. So I'm happy to be here.
And this is your first time covered for sitting at Hubbard.
It's actually my second time with Hubbard. Yeah, so I worked with the Council of Government 8 years ago, and I was a contract planner for Hubbard for maybe a year and a half.
So it's the same company that Holly was with.
Yeah, it was, and then but now I started my own land use planning consultant business, Pathfinder, land use consulting, and working through that capacity.
So assuming you're up to speed on the Bear Creek
I am.
PUD, you want to give us a little bit of background on why it's landed here again and,
Yeah.
walk us through that?
Yeah, happy to do so. So before you tonight, you have a second extension request. So as the code states, you're only allowed to extend for 1 year at a time. The applicant has submitted a timely request for an appeal. That meets, it was submitted 30 days before the appeal or the approval expired. They are asking for an additional year for filing the first final plat of phase one. And the conditions behind that are the reason for the request is just the financial conditions. So higher interest rates, housing, development costs have all increased. And just need a little bit more time to make that project move forward.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions for staff? Either?
I'm sorry, are you part of,
I'm with the applicant.
okay, if you would go ahead and give your name and address, and then, I would definitely entertain
Answer.
just a little bit of background.
Sure,
and
yeah, I can answer
that
that.
information.
Good evening, my name is Steve Kay of Cascadia Planning and Development Services, I'm representing the applicant. As discussed in the submittal for the extension request, the applicants continue to struggle with high interest rates and a poor housing market. And, you know, when we reviewed this with you last year, it looked like we're on a trend to have declining interest rates. However, tariffs that were instituted last year had the opposite effect. There's some people that believe that there's room for optimism this year because there's been a change in leadership at the Federal Reserve. But, you know, ultimately, there's a need for a trend with downward movement of the interest rates because this development's going to require a large investment in infrastructure, and developers going to want to construct homes that are affordable for the home buyers. As also mentioned in the staff report, there hasn't been any substantial changes to the development code and or changes in the city in general, which you know, would prohibit this development from moving forward under the current regulations. So we appreciate your consideration to extend it another year. I'll be available to answer questions.
Any questions?
Yes.
Sure.
Going into this project, before you got permission from the city. What was your impression of it going into the feasibility, the likelihood of it working out within a certain amount of time? Was it a year? And related to that, how long can you go into this project before you just turn away from it?
So when I started with the project, I was working as land use planner for the developer. The developer ended up backing out at the planning commission meeting, the first planning commission meeting for this project in 2022, mid 2022. That's when the interest rates were really spiking. I started the project about a year before that though. And yeah, I mean, he was all in, and saw, you know, huge potential, for this project. It is a phased project as it is approved for, up to 10 years to complete the phasing. So 300 something units, you know, it will take time to get to that point. But there are 4 phases. You might not have seen the plan, recently, but, basically it was to start from the south end and move up to the north end. So the blue would be constructed first. And then the purple, and then the yellow, and then the pink, and then the green. So that's how it was spaced to go over up to a 10-year period.
Okay, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phases. How long would be the minimum amount of time to complete all 5 phases? How long would that take?
The minimum amount of time, if funding were available, you know, it could probably be built in 3 years.
3 years.
But that's, you know, that's a very, really hot market also, you know, because you're gonna have to find buyers.
And with this agreement with the city, Does all 5 phases have to be completed, planned, completed before we start the first phase?
No, no, so the infrastructure associated with the blue area would be built first. And then the homes would be built, the lots in that area of the site. And then infrastructure would be built for the second phase, the extension of the roads, utilities, etc. And then those lots would be built on.
Which phases have the houses, the single family?
There's townhomes here, and single family, there's all single family here. The townhomes are single family too, they're just attached, smaller units. The only multifamily is up to the last phase,
That's the last phase.
yes. The first phase will also be required to do some additional things that aren't shown on this map. Extension of water, up J Street will be required to connect through the site. And then connect over to, 3rd Street down here. And there will be a fire road that will need to be constructed as part of this first phase as well. And there's sidewalk improvements that need to happen on 3rd Street. So there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built with that first phase.
Where is 4th Street on that?
There's a segment here, of 4th Street.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Any questions, Bill?
No.
Thank you for joining us, appreciate it.
Sure.
Any discussion or a motion?
are you taking input from the audience? This is a public meeting? Okay, I mean,
This is not a public hearing.
I was gonna say it's not a public hearing,
so
so
it's not.
Yeah,
no,
application is already approved.
yeah, the application, yeah, I'm just gonna say. Say.
There's no public input about the extension being granted or not,
Go ahead, if you'd like to.
but. My name is Matt Kennedy, 3635 Fifth Street, Hubbard. The reason I decided to attend tonight, I've kind of watched this project through and I've been privy to the ownership of this property and the way they've handled it. And I think, I spoke, no disrespect to Mr. K, but this Disneyland plan, I said 3-4 years ago was Disneyland, it would never be built here. I still feel that. These row houses with ADUs do not have any parking accommodations. I met with some of the top regional developers for this site and done hundreds of acres around us. Other communities around us are actively building right now with the interest rates. I sell real estate every day and everybody else is making it happen. The reason this has not happened to this date is because the owner, Columbia Trust, managing this has mismanaged it. And they have arrogant pencil pushers in Seattle that are milking fees off the Browning Trust by keep rotating this thing around. I've been in meetings with them and on Zoom meetings with the Columbia Trust. And the reason it matters to me is because this is now not included in the urban and rural district, which I think you're talking about next. And our town is being held hostage to a Disneyland plan that no builder will ever build. I'll bet the farm on it. The developer that I've written offers for multiple times would have this built out by now, prior to Mark Handrus backing out of it. Said that he would have to go through and take us through a 1-year process with the city again, because he cannot build this plan as it's drawn. So you have a bunch of bankers that got a bunch of people together that are never gonna build this and created and drew up this plan, and they've been marketing it to the public, and they've had an opportunity for 4 years to do that. Now, I don't know that Hubbard has to grow or needs to grow, but I knew there's a lot hinging on it, and our town is waiting for this to happen, and it's been part of a big infrastructure development plan and the urban renewal district. And I truly believe that from knowing some of the parties that have been involved in escrow and offered on this property, that this could have been built out right now. King City is being built out right now, Woodward's being built out right now, Canby's being built out right now, Hubbard's not being built out. That's because of the Columbia Trust. And so whether you extend this or not is not going to facilitate this happening, because it's my true belief that whoever does come and does invest the money, it is gonna take huge money to develop this site, is going to have to want to build a plan. So if I go and draw up a plan and spend $20,000 with the architect to draw up a 5,000 square foot, 1 bedroom house with 10 bathrooms, great, I got this plan, but somebody has to want to build it. And so I don't, with all sincerity and all, I care about this community more than any. And I want to see it be built right. I just don't think that extending this plan is going to facilitate the seller, Columbia Trust, has to come to reality and deal with the run out of developers that are capable of developing this site. And they've refused offers that could have facilitated the development of this site. So that's my 10 cents.
Thank you.
I can back up and rebut that.
Yes.
Yep.
So, there were some inaccuracies that were just stated there, but, Icon Construction was the original developer for this project. And they did back out because of the interest rate issue. They designed this project that they were intending to build. So, go ahead.
I apologize.
This was no Disneyland project. This is what they had researched as a need for the community. They worked closely with staff on the design, and this was the design that was proposed as a result. Icon has come back to the trust, and they are currently in discussion. And Icon is looking to reacquire this property. So it's not a dead deal. And there, if it is approved, it is very likely that it will move forward.
All right, sir, you stated that you gave examples of Aurora, Woodburn,
Candy.
Candy. Those are apartment complexes, correct?
No, not the development I'm speaking of. I mean, the subdivision of Woodburn by Lennar, LRI, or whatever else with that. I mean, there's some substandard projects in there, but there's South Hillsborough and King City and out behind Owls and Sherwood. And there's a lot of areas where a large amount of homes are being built currently and selling currently. And I do respect Mr. K has a much better insight. I respect what he said, and I misspoke about that project. It was my impression that nobody would build those townhomes with ADUs and no street parking. I stand corrected, and if he developed that on behalf of that developer, then I would validate what he says as, I withdraw that portion of my statement. But other development is happening all around this.
Mr. K, I can see that there was higher difficulty of getting loans to purchase a house rather than apartment complexes, and I appreciate that you're starting with the single family units, and I can understand how that can be a tougher go around in the beginning. Do you have anything to add to that could shed more light on the feasibility of approving this further, of extending this?
Well, you're right. It is difficult for the homeowners to qualify and to be able to, have the income to support a mortgage under these current interest rates. And they're not building to the first 3 phases for anyone that's going to be, necessarily a renter. They're going to be a home buyer. Yes, it's possible somebody may purchase a home and rent it to somebody, but in general, it's going to be starter homes and people with young families that are moving into these locations. There are no ADUs proposed with this development. It's all single family, detached or attached units. So there's not that pressure on parking for ADU units being part of those lots.
Steve, I apologize because initially there were some ADUs with some townhouses, so was that initial plan changed or was,
With, what was approved, there were no ADUs.
okay, so that was prior to approval then?
Yes.
Okay, again, I stand corrected, so he drew that and would have better information, so.
Thank you for clarifying.
Bill, anything?
Question before it seems to be whether we approve or not. I think we've, I think this has been approved once already, so that question comes back to extend an extension.
Yes.
You know, if it was designed correctly, which I don't agree, it was two types of lots and so on, and that's why nobody wants to build or develop it, because they don't know if it's, they'll sell or not. I mean, probably, you know, bankruptcy is, people are afraid of it, that's why they're not buying it, they're not, you know, owner doesn't want to drop prices, it seems. I don't know what the ins and outs are, but I mean, if it, were we gonna kick it down the road one more year? Why? Because there's not, if 2 years not to sell something is, they would be going the third year, so I don't know, the design for our area doesn't fit in my mind. So, you know, if we do pass it today, it comes back to me next year, or it comes back here next year, I don't see how we extend it. I mean, they just don't. They're holding up land that needs to be developed, you know, we allowed it and it needs to be developed. You know, everybody wants to make their dollar on their property, and I get that, but if it's not selling, you drop the price. If that's the case,
That's private land, correct?
yeah.
So regardless, so we can own the land.
Right, the project needs to be built out for a city, so that's why we allowed the plan, they were saying they were gonna get it done. They did have a developer, he backed out because, from what I understand is he, looked at the numbers and they're not even close to making a dollar, let alone. Yeah, basically making a dollar, it's ultimately, it comes right down to that. So I'm super hesitant, but, you know, not, today, I am gonna, vote to, approve this, but if it comes back next year, the same. It's not a third, but just the same third comes back, we're not gonna keep waxing it, you know. We need to get moving forward and do, that's our job as a body to help the city along.
I wanna gently push back on that a little bit.
Sure.
They own the land. We have a negative economy going on right now, and it may last indefinitely for all we know. Look what happened in 2009, that was like 5 years. I like the fact that we have this plan and how much worse it could be. I'm not looking at something that's better down the road. I don't wanna be desperate and approve of a 10 apartment complex that looks like the one by Safeway.
Right, so you know they're structured, they're allowed to put apartments only in one section, which is the last section, the rest have to be houses.
Until they sell. And then somebody else applies.
Oh, I see, a new
And that's what I
application.
mean by the town being desperate. Oh, okay, we'll take this one then. I like the fact that they wanna keep this going. It's their money that they're waiting on. So that's the reason why I'm gonna vote positive. And maybe next year I might change my mind as well, but right now that's not how I feel.
It's the design, that's why, in Woodburn, we're talking about, there's a lot of apartment complexes, we're not talking about the houses, they're big, 5, 6, 7,000 square foot lots. 1 to 2, or 1,500 to 25, 35, 4,500 square foot, they don't have anything that would fit. They've got lots that are 3,500 feet, and there is 5,000 square foot lots, there is some, I think, 7 or 8,000 down against Bear Creek. So, I mean, how long are we just gonna keep the checkbook open? Or we say, you know what, we've had a couple of years, and if you can't lower your price, maybe redesign it and come back with a new application. Because ultimately, John, we're sitting here, right? We're gonna look at the plans that are submitted. So that's just, my 2 cents. Today, I'm going to vote to approve, but if it comes back next year the same way, the guy doesn't want to drop his price because the economy has gone down, wants to wait it out. City needs revenue also, you know, and I think I believe, I truly believe a different design, bigger lots, smaller and less units will sell, somebody will come in and develop it. And I don't know how it would be feasible, but it would sell. You could see houses selling more than the boxes. They're tight. If you look at the plan, I haven't seen it for about a year, 2 years probably.
Well, it's water to the bridge, but Mr. Bronick used to come into my office and said that Hubbard needed more luxury home sites. We were losing buyers to Canby and other communities because we didn't have any larger lot with larger home options here. And it was only that small.
Time for comment is over.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you voted aye?
But we haven't started motion yet, but yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna vote this year, you know, I just wanna be on record that this is, it's not selling. Drop your price and move on, because the land is sitting there and the plan that they have there. People are smart, right? Icon, right? And there is ID that bid on it. They're smart. They don't become developers and builders by knowing or putting something that's not gonna sell. If they had the original plan that we approved, and which I was against back then even, they have little lots. They're not, nobody wants to build them because they're not gonna sell. As their design, that's my opinion.
I appreciate your opinion, I respect that, I do. But where are they? They should know that this is expiring. If these people are available, why aren't they here?
Well, I would say that they would have to first pull a lever with it being not approved, and then people would step up. I believe that would be the case.
But we're trying to make a decision right now. It seems like if there was somebody other than Mr. K,
Mhm.
he would be here right now.
Right.
And that's the reason why I'm going to second.
Sure.
Sorry, you were second.
I'll second his eye.
So we have a motion to approve
For a 1 year extension,
and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda is Urban Renewal District Plan. And we have John LaGarza online, is that correct?
Yes, I do. And he is unmuted. Should be able to hear him. Maybe.
Hello.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's everyone doing this evening?
Good.
Okay, can you see the slideshow there?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
We'll see.
Laura, thank you for getting us on the agenda this evening, and Chair, thank you for being, having us in here this evening. John LaGarza with Healthy Sustainable Communities. Our firm's located in Wilsonville. We've been working on the urban renewal for the city of Hubbard. We do economic development, urban renewal modeling, community development for cities and counties up here in the Pacific Northwest here. Tonight, I'm going to just be briefing you here for a few minutes. Again, this is just informational only. I will be back here in May. So again, this is information for you here. Hubbard's been working on a urban renewal district, and I'm going to go through a little bit on how it works, the proposed area, the plans and goals for that area, some projects and budget, and just an overall timeline. Again, informational for you here this evening here. So urban renewal pays for projects with the tax increment growth that can help within the city of Hubbard here. The way this works is you have a district or a base, And inside that base, the current asset value is frozen, and the taxes on that base keep going to every district. But if you look at number two, any value you create inside that district, the new tax revenue stays in that frozen base, and it helps to pay for future plans and projects there. When we get all done, the district is sunset and all the taxes go back to all the districts that were involved. And it's a great tool in Oregon. We have very limited tools to help communities to be able to invest in urban renewal is one of the tools that cities have. It's a great way to invest into your community there. And at the end of the day, all the taxing districts get the benefit for perpetuity of the increased improvements for the community there. Where's the plan area? You can see up here in the figure here. The city over the last years went through and looked at the areas here. We have the Main Street area, making sure that area, there's some areas along the highway there. And this is the boundary for the proposed urban renewal district here. The total projects and budgets, what they'll be funded for this is we'll be looking at the infrastructure. Infrastructure is very important. We know the city needs help with water, sewer, storm drain, streets, sidewalks, and just wayfinding within these areas here. Economic development, one of the things we looked at with the TAC on the urban renewal is programs to help businesses for such as storefront programs, business assistance, tenant improvements, fee waivers, commercial marketing there. And again, there's going to be some shared administrative costs that'll be done with for the agency and requires the same type of board. Normally your city council is your urban renewal agency board, but you have to do the same meeting laws and the same budget and reporting and auditing as you do for the city. And that's the administrative side of it there. So tonight, again, this is just informational. The Planning Commission, your action is an advisory to the City Council, and we're here tonight on the 21st. At the beginning of May, we will be sending notices to all the utility customers and property owners within this area here. Also, May will be presenting to Marion County and the other districts that request a presentation. We will be back here in front of you on May 19th for a public hearing, and then May 30th. After that's a 45 consult and confer period, and then to City Council on June 9th. So I appreciate your time tonight. Happy to answer any questions too.
Anybody have questions? Bill?
No.
Well, I appreciate you joining us, and we look forward to seeing some finalized products on that, or some finalized plans on this.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. I appreciate your time tonight. And Laura, anything else you need from this evening?
No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Much
Yep.
appreciated.
Yep.
Alrighty, next up on the agenda is public hearing, legislative amendment 2026-02. Do you have anything you want to introduce with before I do, move to a,
Yeah, we just go right to the script.
what's that?
We can just follow right to the script.
Alrighty. Good evening, my name is Glenn Holm. I am the chair of the Hubbard Planning Commission. I will be presenting over this hearing. This is the time and place set for the public hearing for the matter of legislative amendment LA 2026-02. Legislative amendments to section 2-110 floodplain overlay zone of the Hubbard Development Code. The hearing is now open. It is 7:04 p.m. Oregon land use laws require several items to be read into the record at the beginning of every public hearing. City planner will review this material. Your patience is appreciated as she goes through these statements.
Thank you. So the applicable criteria on the case will be decided are found in the Hubbard Development Code, the City of Hubbard Comprehensive Plan, and the Oregon statewide planning goals. The specific criteria are summarized in the staff report and will be reviewed at this hearing. All testimony and evidence received during this public hearing must be directed towards the approval criteria or to such other rule, law, regulation, or policy which you believe applies to this case. An issue which may be on basis for an appeal shall be raised no later than the close of the record of the final hearing on this case. Such issue shall be raised with and accompanied by statements, evidence sufficient to afford this body and the parties to this hearing an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. This public hearing will proceed with a staff report and any other comments from governmental agencies in attendance, followed by all of those who are in support of the code amendment. All those opposed to the code amendment will then follow to speak, followed by those with just general comments that are neither for or against. All speakers should try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please state your name clearly for the microphone and provide city staff with your mailing address for the record before your comments. Please try to avoid repetition. If someone else has already expressed the same thoughts, it's perfectly all right to state that you agree with these statements of the previous speaker. Please be assured that everyone will have an opportunity to speak. If you have documents, maps, or letters that you wish to have considered before the body, they must formally be placed into the record of this proceeding. To do that, either before or after you speak, please submit the material to city staff.
With that out of the way, I need to ask the audience and fellow planning commissioners a few questions. Are there any objections to the notice that was published? Are there any declarations of bias by any member of this body? Are there any declarations of conflict by any member of this body? With that, I would ask Laura to give the staff report.
Okay, thank you very much. So before you tonight is a legislative code amendment. The amendment is to section 2110, the floodplain overlay zone. A legislative amendment is a recommendation by the planning commission and a final decision by the city council. The purpose of this development code amendment is directly the result of a lawsuit that the FEMA, or the Federal Emergency Management Association, and they were found that they are not complying with the Endangered Species Act in how they protected those in relationship to floodplain development. The outset of that lawsuit was that the FEMA, which is implemented through the Oregon National Floodplain Program, is that they have to select from one of 3 options. The first option was that they prohibit development in the floodplain altogether. The second option is that information is submitted to say that there is no impact to the Endangered Species Act or the species within that area. And then the third option was to adopt a model code. The model code was developed as a multi-state model code. It doesn't perfectly fit with the state of Oregon, who says that we have to make decisions on clear and objective standards. So on the city's attorney's advice, the city has decided to implement option 2, which is requesting documentation to show that when development occurs in a floodplain, that is consistent with any sort of compliance measures that are enacted. So the code itself is amended in a couple different ways. It implements showing that the applicant is responsible for producing documentation to showing that they have no impact. So that is the direct response based off this lawsuit. And then the other ones are just sort of housekeeping amendments. So we're updating some defined terms in the code. Those definitions were pulled right from Oregon's model code language. So those are consistent statewide. And other housekeeping is just maybe restructuring so it's easier to follow, and updating some outdated terminology that's used within the code. So when deciding to approve this code amendment, there are 4 criteria that the development code reviews. The first one just simply says, are the code amendments consistent with the comprehensive plan? So there are a number of findings that shows what the statewide planning goals are, and also what the Hubbard policies in their comprehensive plan goals are when it comes to floodplain protection. And staff finds, after reviewing those, that the code amendment is compliant with those goals and policies. The second criterion talks about whether there's adequate facilities to serve a parcel if it were to be rezoned. That doesn't necessarily apply in this case. All the properties along the floodplain, the property owners were noticed of the code amendment process. There's not any actual development that's proposed with the amendment. It just changes how the regulations are applied in that case. The third criteria is states that the proposed amendment must be consistent with the purpose section of the code. This section is directly applicable. The purpose section of the floodplain overlay code is essentially to protect health, safety, and welfare for anybody who develops within a floodplain or the floodplain fringe, and to ensure that the regulations of the city meets the program standards. So this is the findings that are included in the staff report outline how the city is compliant with both the lawsuit at the federal level and also the state's administration of the program. I'll pause to add that we did directly notice the Department of Land Use and Conservation, as well as the State of Oregon's floodplain administrator and Benton County's, or Marion County's, excuse me, floodplain administrator as well. All of those had no changes or recommendations for the code amendment. They felt that they covered all those provisions well and had no recommendations and supported the code amendment. The last criterion 4, just says that the natural features of the site are conducive to the proposed zoning district. This criterion really is more directed towards when development is occurring, just making sure if this rezone were to happen, that it wouldn't negatively impact any natural resources. So there are findings there to talk about the floodplain overlay itself is a zone. There is no rezoning of properties. No new properties are being covered by these regulations. I'll pause to add here that all property owners that are in the floodplain overlay district did receive public notice of these amendments. The city has not received any comment based on that mailing. And then anybody who does choose to participate in the public hearing tonight would receive a notice of decision also. So those are the review criteria. There is quite a lot of documentations. There's Exhibit A, which simply shows in red text what the changes are to the code. Exhibit B is what the final draft would look like. And the only other thing I'll point out that I think is key is that this does not necessarily add any new regulations to the floodplain overlay district that are not already imposed. People that are choosing to development in the floodplain are already required to have a permit. The permit reviews to make sure that those structures and how they're developed are developed safely in those areas. The only one that the main change of this code amendment is just that folks that are applying are just providing more documentations if there was any habitat or species that may be affected in association with development. So I'll pause here and open it up to any questions that the commission might have. I know it's a lengthy document and happy to go into any of those pieces in more detail.
Thanks, go ahead.
I'll wait. Anybody?
I read it as basically changing words to fit to what we have already, so I, you know, not a lawyer, I couldn't say I understood all of it, but I understood enough to where it's, not used to Julie, it's Laura, she mentioned it, nothing new is added, so just different verbiage. More encompass of what the law is.
Moving forward, any changes to this has to be brought forward to the city council before anything's changed, correct?
Yeah, so what's before you tonight is a decision if you want to recommend approval with modifications, or if you did not want to recommend approval to city council. City council will take your recommendation into consideration as they make the final decision to adopt this code amendment or not.
My question was beyond that,
Beyond that,
5-10 years down the road.
yeah,
If something changes,
Mhm.
it would be presented to the city council again.
it will.
Approval.
Yeah. So how changes come to be is either, you know, there already are a number of lawsuits that are continuing to go on to this effect. There might be more legislation that gets passed, and the city will respond to that if they're mandated to or if they choose to. But otherwise, we're not anticipating any changes above and beyond this.
what town is that? Mount Angel or Silverton, one of them, or have a lawsuit going on right now. If that's favorable for Hubbard also, would the planning commission be apprised of that information? Would it be brought forward to this, planning commission?
Yes, so your city attorney constantly monitors any sort of changes or cases that are taking effect. If there's something of substance that comes up, they do discuss those with staff and provide some guidance on how we might choose to move forward. So if there is some case law or changes that happen, it's usually a conversation with the city administrator, with your city attorney, and then presented to you first as the planning commission for the decision body for the city.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Any further questions?
No.
All right, I will now accept public testimony regarding the amendments. Is there anyone who would like to speak in support of the amendments?
It's how they're beating down.
Is there anybody
Get to the
online?
voting, is there
Yeah.
anybody? Is there anybody who'd like to speak in opposition to the amendments? Or is there anybody who would like to speak neither for nor against?
Hearing no testimony was provided, obviously staff, do you have any final words before?
No, nothing to add.
Before I close or continue the public hearing, are there any additional comment or questions from planning commission of staff or anyone? As a reminder, once the hearing is closed, only commissioners or staff may speak. Public testimony is now over. I will close this meeting at 7:17 PM and would entertain discussion on an amendment or a motion.
I have nothing to add.
Yeah, the provisions, and we approve what without any,
There's a recommended.
right,
Yeah.
what page is that?
And there's a recommended motion, I believe, right there.
Should we take 29 of the staff report?
9, okay.
It's right before the exhibit.
I was looking for it, here we are, the hiding. I'm not saying anything.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Motion to adjourn.
We want to get, approval or denial.
Yeah, we need to, prefer to have a motion to, offer a recommendation to council.
I would say option 1, because really it's keeping up with all of the new state of Oregon legislative verbiage, as I understand it. Option 1, recommend the city council approve the development code text amended as presented.
Are you framing that as a motion?
I am.
Do I hear a second?
I will second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Just to restate that, we're recommending the city council approve the development code text amendment as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? And that motion carries. Go for it, John. You have the motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
I
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you. That was a little painful.